Welcome everyone, I'm Patrick, the yoga director here at Yoga Renew. In this video, I want to look at a few of the different places we can put the foot in tree pose, or the Sanskrit Vrksasana. This is a great pose to work on really for any level of student, and the variations we're going to look at today can benefit both beginner students, intermediate students, and advanced students. So let's look at this first variation, and we can practice this together. So we'll stand here in Tadasana, feet together, hands by the side. The first variation I want to look at is probably the most accessible for beginner level students or students that have difficulty balancing. So take your hands to your hips, come onto the ball of your right foot, turn the whole right leg out to the right. Now I'm simply going to place my right heel above my left ankle, and the ball of my right foot can press into the floor. My pelvis is exactly the same as it would be as if I lifted my foot off the floor. My right thigh and my right leg bone are exactly the same as it would be as if I lifted my foot off the floor. The only difference is that I have a little extra support and stability with 2 feet on the floor instead of 1, which is great for those students who have trouble balancing. Let's finish the pose. Arms in a T, turn your palms to the ceiling, lift those arms up. Tree pose. Arms wide, turn your right foot in, feet together, Tadasana. The next place I want to look at as an option to place the foot is bringing the foot off the floor and bringing it on the inner calf or shin of the bottom leg. Let's work on this one together. Hands on your hips, come onto the ball of your right foot, turn your whole right leg out, heel rest on your shin or above your ankle first. Now we're just going to lift the foot up off the floor so that the inseam or the sole of the foot rests on the inner line of the lower leg. Once I do lift my foot off the floor, the weight shifts, so I have to cinch this outer left hip towards the midline to stand up a little taller. Let's finish the pose, arms wide. Turn those palms to the ceiling. Lift your arms up, up, up. Tree pose. Arms wide. Step your feet together. Tadasana. All right, so that's 2 great options. First one for absolute beginners, you can just keep the ball of your foot on the floor. The second one is a little bit more challenging because you're balancing on one foot, but you're just going to bring the sole of your foot to your lower leg. The last version of the pose, which is closest to the full version, is to lift the sole of your foot above your knee onto the inseam of your thigh. So let's work on this one together. Hands on your hips, come onto the ball of your right foot, turn that whole right leg out. Now we'll lift the foot up. You can use your hand to help guide that foot higher. Eventually, you want your heel as high towards your pubic bone as you can get it, and your toes pointing down towards your inner ankle. Let's try. I'm going to lift this right leg. I'll grab my foot with my hand to assist, get that heel as high up towards the pubic bone as I can, toes down, and then I got to cinch this outer left hip into the midline and keep this inner right thigh opening towards the inner knee. Let's continue the pose. Arms wide. Turn your palms to the ceiling. Lift those arms up, up, up. Tree pose. Vrksasana. Arms wide. Feet together. Tadasana. You might have noticed there was a little swaying in each of those versions of the pose that I worked on. And you know what? That's great. That means my body and the muscular action is working. These balance poses, you're not supposed to be a statue. They're supposed to be energetic and living and moving with your breath in that moment, which makes it fun and exciting and playful to work on. The one place I want to point out not to put your foot when you're working on tree pose is not to bring your foot on the inner knee joints. That just puts a little undue pressure on that inner knee, which could be sensitive to injury going forward. All right, so I'm going to show you that, but again, this is not the position that you want your students or yourself to put the foot when working on tree pose. So I'll come onto the ball of my right foot, turn it out. Just watch, you don't need to do this one, is if you see your students with the heel or their foot pressing on that inner knee. We want to avoid this situation as much as possible and work on one of the 3 other alternatives I gave you prior to that. All right, I hope this little video on tree pose and where to put your foot was helpful. Hope to see you again on the mat soon.